Yo, it's 2021, y'all. Them and Pete, we got a new show. If you ain't got no money, take your broke dick home. Poodle. If you ain't got no money, wait. Pass.
BLING Empire OMG Netflix, we coming for you. Natty, Poodle,
And special guests, too.
it's Bling Empire on Reality Gaze.
I'm drinking Tito's the rest of my days.
eating Doritos.
This show's the closest we'll get to the glamorous.
Out of that
Oh, the glamorous. Oh, the glamorous, glamorous. Oh, the glamorous. Oh, the glamorous. Oh, say, oh, the glamorous. Who are these people?
Oh, Poodle. Boy, I'm so glad you asked. Oh, there's Dr. Gabe and his wife, Christine. Jamie is the fashion queen. Kevin's got that banging body, and Kimberly is a DJ god.
Kane's got Benjis by the tons. Anna's dad sells bombs and guns. Ain't none of these kids gotta worry about bills, and they're all in Beverly Hills. Oh, the glamorous. Yo, the flowers say, oh,
Y'all,
the
if I could have a timpani and an orchestra playing violins with sopranos singing high notes, I would right now, because we have probably our most excited special guest that we've had on the show. Margaret motherfucking Cho is on our podcast, y'all. Thanks for being here, Margaret.
And
Thank
her dog.
And
Lucia
her little dog, too.
Cascarina.
Queen,
And my little dog.
queen bitch of them all.
Yes,
how
she
old
really
is she?
She's 2.
Oh.
She's the
Muffin.
best. She's the best.
You
Oh,
also have the
look at
most
her.
gorgeous home of anybody we've
Oh,
interviewed.
thank you. Thank you.
It's really pretty.
Thank you.
It's a tough call from Marcus from Labor of Love.
Or
who we saw his like gross apartment.
Or that
So-
time that Poodle tried to do an interview in Flex Spa, and there was just a lot of tweaking. I was like,
Oh,
I'm kidding.
no.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Aw.
The poppers in the air. Oh, times.
I love
Thank
the
you.
smell of poppers in the air. It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my potpourri sometimes.
Mhm.
So we have to shout out before we jump into Bling Empire. We want to shout out ACAST, especially Sara for us at ACAST too, because we both are ACAST podcasters.
Yes.
Your podcast, the Margaret Cho, you've got a couple of years of that podcast, right?
Yes.
And so we want to be sure to everybody to check out the podcast. And again,
She has amazing guests. Like
Yeah.
I was looking at the list, and I know Cameron Esposito. I know, and I'm a big fan of Drew Druggy's a good friend of ours.
Oh, I love Drew. Yeah.
So,
he's
yeah.
one of the
Wonderful.
funniest people
So
in Los
funny.
Angeles.
Yeah, we
I
go.
know.
His parents actually go to church with my parents in
Oh,
South
that's
Carolina.
Oh, that's
Yes.
so cute.
It's just
I love it.
every time I'm there, and they're like, "Have you seen Drew lately? He's doing okay."
Oh, that's
God bless
wonderful.
him.
Anyway,
Yes.
so thank you again for it. So yeah, go ahead, Pooh. Let's jump into
My
this.
first question for you, Margaret, is you probably had the first Asian American reality show,
Mhm.
the Cho
Yes.
Show.
Yes.
So I would ask you, how do you feel about these youths standing on your shoulders? And if you'd like to apologize to our audience now for creating this, please feel free.
I love it. I love it. And I love more representation. And I love the show. I actually think it's a lot of fun. And I just get excited to see Kevin's abs.
Yes.
I'm like, that body is like,
Feelings mutual. Yes.
it's
Mutual.
crazy.
It's
His
insane.
body is so crazy. And I think it's a really fun show. I think it's interesting because it gets into like Versailles territory, like where it's like real high society, and it's like if you wear a necklace, you're wrong for wearing that necklace. And it's just really like, to me, it's really fun. I wish that I could go to the parties. I want to try out that weird machine that's like the tapping. It keeps your pussy tight or your asshole
Yes,
tight. I wasn't
same.
sure what that thing is. I was
Same.
like, girl, I need that in the,
Yeah.
in the home version.
Kelly spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
In that party, and
I need
you're right
it.
about Versailles. It is totally like Dangerous Liaisons I'm going to seat her at the end of the table. And see
I
what
know.
happens.
And that anybody I would not even register any of that shade. I'd be like, oh, I'm sitting here. I'm just going to eat this. Like, I would not even notice. But it's a different level of society, the strata. I don't know people that rich. I mean, I do know rich people, but mostly they're like in entertainment, and they're not like old money, which so some of the show there's kind of older money. So there's something like, I only know the nouveau riche.
Yeah. Yes.
If you've been making bombs and guns, you've been around for a while with that money. Because you've been around a while.
Now, did you know that this world existed in Los Angeles?
I did know that some of it existed. Like, you see it on the weekend morning. You used to see it like in Monterey Park for dim sum. So you would see like the very wealthy Asian families out there. And you would see it sometimes during the Lunar New Year celebrations. And then I think that, I've always known that it existed, but I was never really a part of it.
Yeah. We've been talking with other, mostly AAPI podcasters, and we were talking about the idea of the show doesn't have a ton to do with Asian representation, but much more of a wealth representation.
At least that's what they've been talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think that it's just an area of Asianness that is really marketable, and also with the popularity of the movie Crazy Rich Asians and all those books, and there's, I think, so much infighting within the idea of what Asian American represents, that the world of the super rich is one that can be explored in entertainment, because it's not one that's fraught with all of these like checks for authenticity. Yeah. Like, it's kind of like there's this thing about people only want to go to an Asian restaurant if it's like really only Asian people eat there. There's like that weird stereotype. It's like they're in the know. But and so there's this kind of like high level that we place on this idea of authenticity or exclusion of white people.
Right.
So
yeah, it's like, no, I totally understand. And it's kind of like, this is like they're trying to quantify their Asianness by saying we are but somehow wealth gets involved there. And they talk about the Lunar New Year celebrations, and they're having their 100-day baby's 100th day in the last episode. And so, yes, we do have these kind of generic cultural Asian touchstones. There's a lot of talk about taking off shoes in the house. I'm like, why are we really belaboring this?
I mean, I like that.
I do too, because I hate vacuuming. I have so much hardwood floor. I can't with that. And but it is like like a lot of those things are really important, especially for Asian Americans, because the idea of like the 100-day celebration for kids is really important, because most of our kids didn't survive past 100 days. So, in Asia. And so like during wartime and all this stuff. So 100 days is like very meaningful. So like for a 100-day party for Koreans, you would lay out a bunch of items, and whatever your kid grabs is what they'll be. And of course I grabbed the gay uncle. So that's what I became. But everybody has, like, you grab a pen, or you, grab a thermometer,
Girl!
Girl! Tia, she was like, oh, I'm mommy.
Like, mommy, that was your first girl today.
Yeah, girl!
That's funny. It's like, oh, we got to go see Uncle Steve soon.
Yeah.
Hey, I have an Uncle Steve. Wait a minute. No, I love that. I love that too. Oddly, we knew about the 100-day thing, ironically, because we cover 90-Day Fiance, and they've talked about that on that show.
Yeah, and that's been a thing. Yeah.
But do you feel like, kind of like it is surprising to me that, because I watched your sitcom. Like, I remember all that. And like Jake and I've talked, like, I remember going to see you at the Wiltern years ago. I think that was the Notorious CHO show. I think we saw that. I saw another one too. And what was the one where you talked about your mom telling the story about your dad punching his gay friend in the face.
Oh, I think that's Notorious CHO.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yeah, okay. That's the one we saw because we were done.
Yeah.
But I remember Poodle ended up going to that Denny's right by Wiltern and making out with a guy in a booth there because he got drunk.
Oh, fun!
So
you know what? You inspired me.
You inspired us very much. But the reason
it's so great.
I brought it up not to brag and say that we love you, but more of to talk about. When I thought about that, it seems recent, but like Jake said at the beginning, that was so long ago. And so I agree with you that it just is like, wow, it really took this long.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't like you started this and then things kept continuing. It was like you started it and then there was just this pause and we had nothing for so long. And so I guess
then the sitcom Fresh Off the Boat kind of was in the middle of that. And then Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
And basically you were, besides that, you were token Asian secretary. But then they would give you some funny lines and you made hay of whatever they gave you. Yes. But that's exactly right. It's kind of like we saw some like spurts of it. And this is the first kind of, and I guess in a way,
House of Ho. There's House of Ho.
Right.
Too,
House of Ho. And I do feel like in a way, once you get to feel like your representation of your own ethnicity is being exploited, maybe then you've made it.
I think it's good. I mean, I think it's definitely like getting towards mainstream, and I want it to be, and I think that it's important for it to be. And so this kind of programming is really, I think it's really exciting because it does feel really fresh, even though we have seen rich people and we have seen these kinds of big sort of aspirational living reality television. But this is a different take on it, which I appreciate.
Oh, and I love it too, because it's a world I don't know of. So first of all, how amazing are Anna's tits? First of all.
I mean, Anna is amazing as well because she's got this like grandeur. Like, I know so many women actually like that I didn't realize were Asian. I thought they were Russian or like Ashkenazi, like Jewish, different women like in Hollywood, old money from Beverly Hills. Like I didn't realize that, they can be Asian too. That's right. Russia is very close to Korea. So there's a lot of cross-pollination.
And she's had a couple of alterations to her visage over the years.
Looking good. It looks good.
She does look good, I think. We didn't realize, some of the other podcasters, we didn't realize that one of the other interviews with a woman named Melanie said, we didn't realize that plastic surgery was such a big deal in Asian culture. I didn't realize culture. I mean, because it is everybody here. Everybody. I had no idea.
It's crazy how, and also Korea is like at the center of it. Korea is like the best. But it's definitely something that is part of the culture because it's like we also love the sciences. We love medicine. And, it's like a very, very like big business. And, there's a lot of medical tourism also, people that go over there and they'll do stuff that nobody else will do. And it's kind of fabulous.
I'm trying to think what nobody else could do. They're like, can I get some type of ear under my arm?
Yeah, why not?
I'm planning my trip. I'm totally planning. Now, so obviously you talked about Kevin's abs, but who would you like, who's like the one person you would like want to just like go to their house for dinner on this show?
I think Kane. I think he's really fun. I think he's really sweet and really familiar to me. And I'm like, is he gay? I can't really.
Well, you would know. It's in your blood to be able to tell.
It seems like I should know. I'm like,
he is.
Gay, but they don't really go into that.
If you saw him in person, Margaret, all you have to do is smell him, and it's in you would just you would smell the gay.
It's like. Is that Creed Adventist or is that semen? Like, I'm not sure.
Come a little. Let me smell your breath, Kane.
Yeah.
Well,
he's adorable.
Yeah.
He's adorable. It's a little bit of a spoiler alert, but in the last episode, he says, I want to kind of get more adventurous and put myself out there more. And we see him, he doesn't say he's gay, but we see him exchanging phone numbers with Florent, Anna's gay best friend.
Okay.
So he does kind of come out.
I'm going to say right now, Florent would destroy him.
Yeah, Florent looks like he's like a very flowery top. And I really hope that Kelly doesn't get back together with Andrew. Andrew really bothers me.
Margaret, this has been this is the biggest problem with the series. It is the most cringiest thing. He's obviously
I like a lot of it, just not him.
They're obviously and the problem is Kelly is one of the producers. And so because I think she doesn't want this relationship to be portrayed in such a negative light, a lot of our listeners have said, why couldn't they put some kind of disclaimer, even a something for a domestic abuse hotline or something? Because it just every time their scenes are, you get that kind of cringiness of
I'm just freaked
dangerous.
out.
Yeah,
I'm like so scared for her because I think like. And like Anna put it so well, she's like, no dick is that good. And I'm like, I've had some good dick, but it was like, why is he so screaming at her?
Yeah.
Like that was fucked up when he's like screaming at her. And I'm like, this is on camera.
Yeah. And and in a way, Kelly had to approve this. Had to approve of this being on camera. And Anna, who has seen some shit as the daughter of like a munitions, she's like, I've probably seen a lot of deals go down. She's even horrified at this. And it's hard to watch. There's sessions with the therapists are also hard to watch. We think he's just. He also looks off almost all the time, like he's on something. And the whole every time he's on camera, my stomach just drops. Yeah. It's to me, it's the biggest problem of the series.
It makes me hate straight people.
Yeah. Well,
it makes me really I already hate straight people really bad. Like so heterophobic.
I know. Ugh. Now they're going to want their own schools and everything.
I don't know. Maybe I feel like the thing with Andrew, I feel like he's kind of a waste of a straight man too, because it seems like he would have a really smooth asshole. Like he could get really far with that. Yeah,
like really stretched out.
Like no hair. Like guys could just take turns. Like he's just on a lazy Susan of fuck me.
It could be like in a Dove commercial. It's so soft.
That's just
not
a waste.
Carved like an Irish spring soap.
No, not masculine. No. Not like cedar smelling or.
I like it too.
No, like a dove, like a soft lady's voice.
It's just
like 1/3 moisturizing cream. You don't, you don't have to tell me you're soaking in it.
It's so smooth. It's just it smells like linen.
He's very attractive, but she's very attractive also. I hope that
she's prettier, I think.
She gets with Kevin and he's so hot. I'm like, oh my God, he is so handsome.
I know everybody talks about his abs, but just like the way he smiles,
he's just a beautiful man.
Yeah. I know. I was just calling. So I'm in. I live in Los Angeles, but I'm in Oklahoma right now, taking care of my dad. Is sick with cancer. He's going to be fine, but he's sick, and so I'm taking care of my dad. And so my cousin's like hanging out with my dad, make sure he doesn't fall. And she said, "Oh, what are y'all talking about?" And I said, "Well, we're talking about Bling Empire." She said, "Oh my God, I watched 4 episodes of that when my husband was gone today, and that Kevin's ass, I could just eat ice cream on it."
Gorgeous. His body, but his he's such a sweet kind of guy. Like too, he just an innocence about him, and a real openness, which I think is really nice.
Everybody says that about him. That's kind of talked to us or says that he knows him.
Yeah. The show needs him because, if any type of reality show needs that kind of like Lauren Conrad, that kind of the everyman who's sweet, and that way the audience can kind of get inside this world.
Are you a reality TV person?
I'm more of a competitions, like a British baking show. Kind of.
No,
Yeah.
That is my heroine.
Yeah,
I am a little more too like that. I still like Project Runway.
I love that. I mean, I think it's all really interesting. Yeah.
You've done so many. Like you've done Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
And then you did. This is the weirdest thing, almost kismet, because last season on The Masked Singer, a show which is the most bonkers thing in the world, you were the poodle, which is my name.
I was the poodle. I know, it's such kismet. I love it. Yes, it was fun, but it's I think reality is so fun and so different and just fascinating. I still have to get into 90 Day Fiancé. I know I will like fall in and never stop.
You're gonna have so many opinions on people like Angela and Larissa, and just you're gonna scream at your television saying, why was this edited in this way? Or because everything is very, very docu on TLC. Everything feels like it's supposed to be very real. However, the further you go on, you can start to see stories that are just written and scripted.
But it's still riveting. We love it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love like My Strange Addiction and all of those, like, and Pimple Popper and
I love Dr. Pimple Popper.
Her.
I love her.
Yeah,
I love
her.
I want to be friends with her.
I hope she comes on Bling Empire. She should come on next week. She's really rich and she's very cool. Yeah,
they should have you on Bling Empire.
I know. I'm hoping. I would love to.
You were like, you might, who is that rich? But you were like the godmother of what created this, and
you're like, I brought you into this.
I know. I would love to.
You should.
I'll let him know.
Do
let the children know?
What
let them know.
Did you because we, Poodle and I talk about being hippy dippy Californians and we believe in energy and all that kind of stuff, but we still had to laugh. What did you think of the shaman on the beach who said, I'm going to download this to my files? Have you seen that episode yet?
Yes. I was like, are they doing drugs? Like, I'm like, are they the ayahuasca, or they've done the ayahuasca? Somebody better throw up. Like, I thought it was a good idea, but I was wondering what was going to happen.
Yeah, we're all for anything like that. And then in the next scene, he's like, yeah, I'm really questioning if hypnotherapy's right. I don't know if I believe it. And I'm like, you just had a shaman scream at you on a beach and do some kind of like OA thing to you.
That's so funny.
And you think hypnotherapy is a little beyond?
I read that he's dating like the princess of Norwegia or some shit like that. That shaman? Norwegian.
Shaman.
Sorry,
Norwegia
I'm from Oklahoma.
Norwegia is one of those those strange countries on like the Princess Diaries that they have that don't really exist.
Jake always reads me. He was like, you went to school at a one-room schoolhouse in Oklahoma, and the pig always beat you on the curb.
Oh.
Yeah, where he talks about, I'm just like, what did you study? Because we don't share common references.
We don't share a lot of common references. We don't at all.
Anyway, so yeah, the show we liked doing it. What do you want to see after this? What's something that, a show, if it's reality shows, if it's scripted shows, what do you want to see for Asian Americans?
Well, I would love to see more of like the artists, like Koreatown rappers. I would love to see, like something about like sneaker culture there. Like, that's really interesting to me. And that's a little bit of an side adjunct, like Kane's like sneaker wall. Like that's like a legit thing. So, I mean, I feel like there's so much there, or K-pop Americans going over to Korea to do K-pop, which I think is really fascinating. So, I mean, I'm really into like Asian American culture and finding our place there in Korea. So I love that. To me, that would be really fun.
Do you have a production company? Just do one of those things.
Do it.
I do. Yes. I would love to. I'm currently on an adaptation for a K-drama to bring to Asian Americans that's kind of like the sort of lateral move. So I do love K-drama and I love K-pop. And so, to me, it's really like, I think it's a huge world, and but I'm really excited about Bling Empire. I'm glad that it's there, and I'm definitely going to watch the rest of it.
You just talked about Korean drama, and we used to get there was I don't get it anymore, but in our old house that I lived in, there was the Korean soap opera. I don't know how we got it.
We used to live right on. Jake and I used to be roommates. Not in a gay. We're sisters.
No, two bottoms don't make a night.
Yeah, we're sisters. But we were roommates. But we lived right off of like Western. You know what that weird like
Western and Beverly.
That Frank Gehry KFC. It's like that weird. That's where we used to live. So
that Mooney KFC with the drive-thru.
Yes, that's where we would walk. I would, like 8 a.m. we'd walk there hungover. There would be sex workers and
ladies of night just waving.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yes, we used to get the Korean dramas. I forgot about that. We would get that,
and you would watch. You know immediately what's going on. Yeah. But the way that they would have a stinger in the music would go, and then the new scene would start. And you're like, I'm already interested because the music told me exactly how I should feel.
So good. And now they have like synchronized crying, so you know when to have emotions, because Koreans have problems with that. So I think it's really great.
Synchronized emotion. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's some type of like cultural outlet that actually helps you. I love it.
Because we're really repressed. It's a very like emotionally repressed country that's full of like rage and anger. And so we have to like let it come out some way.
No, that was such like, my master's is in clinical psychology and like specializing in queer therapy. And one of my first clients at the Gay and Lesbian Center in Hollywood when I was interning was a Korean American man kind of coming out. And I remember I was a new therapist, and I remember nothing's identifying, but I remember just going to my supervisor and being like, this guy hates me. Like, he never wants to talk. And thank God it was such an education as a white guy from Oklahoma. And anyway, we ended up really having some really beautiful conversations, but I've never seen someone taught so much not to feel. It was shocking to me. It was shocking.
Yeah. It's like the masculinity is so toxic too, that it's really hard for men to feel anything. And so that's why they build in emotional like triggers during these TV shows so that we can all feel something. It's good.
Interesting. We should. Well, our soap operas kind of do that too.
Yeah.
But all of our programming should do that.
Yes.
We were just talking about. I was talking about on the podcast a while back that Maddie always says that he doesn't really cry that much. I cry all the time. In fact, I sometimes every morning, especially during the last 4 years. But it's so the kind of serotonin rush that you get.
Yeah, so
from
cathartic.
Type of I'm like, we should. I was just telling our audience, and everyone was responding. Yeah, I cry all the time, and I'm going to try to cry more.
Yes, good for you.
I usually just do it during sex. That's it.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's a very good time to do it.
That's a good.
I was talking about. You were talking about. When you were talking about working with a Korean American, I was like, that's strange because the Korean Americans I fucked, it's usually they're crying a little bit at the very end. So it kind of works out that way.
Yes, it works out really good.
It works out really good. Margaret, we just, this has been so, we don't want to keep, because we know you're way busier than us, but we're just selling tricks on La Brea. But really, we appreciate you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So obviously, we mentioned the Margaret Cho, the podcast, but also you've got a Valentine's Day thing coming up, right?
I have a show, a live streaming show on Valentine's Day called After Hours with Margaret. It's all sorts of sex advice, sex questions, if anybody wants. I was going to call the show Separation of Butt and Taint, but that just seemed too intellectual. So we're just calling After Hours. And it's going to be online, and people can find out about it at Margaret Cho on Twitter, or margaretcho.com, or Margaret_Cho on Instagram.
I'm still laughing about that.
Separation of butt and taint. I know, they're different areas.
They are.
and with totally different functions. I want to also say that you guys, no one's going to be going out for dinner on Valentine, so just if you have a significant other, go home, sit and watch Margaret's special.
Yeah, come.
Then go and fool around after.
Yeah.
And then watch Great British Bake Off.
Exactly.
Perfect cooling down.
It's perfect. We could have fanned all over you the 30 minutes because you've just been such a light of joy. I still remember we often reference you on the podcast, especially of late, because my dad, shitting's been a big deal for my father, and he's like shit the bed and all this. So we always talk about, and Jake and I have often talked about crapping our own pants, but we always reference
we both have done it.
Your story of shitting in the car as like the hierarchy.
The diet.
Yes.
Because I remember you made Dr. Pepper shoot out my roommate Karen Cole's nose watching that.
Wow.
Because it was anyway. So we always talk about that on the show. So anyway, you're just a bringer of joy and a bringer of light. Yeah. And then as I found out that you were queer identified and such a wonderful part of our community, it was just like I couldn't love you more. So thank you so much for doing this.
On behalf of all of our community, thank you so much for your allyship and whatever you've done.
Yeah,
thank you.
This has been so lovely. Y'all, check out her special, After Hours, or which should have been called Separation of Bud and Taint.
All the links will be in the show notes, everybody, so you can click there. Margaret Cho, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Say bye.
Oh, the glamorous. Oh, the flowers say all the glamorous. Oh, the glamorous, oh, the glamorous. Oh, the flossy. Yo, how can I get Kevin to fuck me? Anytime I want a boom. I want to beg for it day and night. Kevin. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Gonna get it done, Kevin. Get in here. That's what Daddy